Okay, welcome everyone. I will call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for December 12th, 2024. It is 10:03 in the morning. And Commissioner Starrett, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic which stands indivisible.
All right. So item C is our calendar session. Is there anything to add other than a reminder that next week is our last formal session of the year? Any other events to add that we missed? No? Okay. All right, item D is public comment. This time period is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, a quasi judicial land use matter, or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. And
Excuse me, Chair, I believe the sheriff is ready to make a public comment. So if we could go to him first.
okay,
Do you mind?
welcome, Sheriff.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me okay?
If you're talking, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, now.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I just wanted to join in this morning since I'm not able to be there in person and to personally thank you, Chair Berschauer, for all of the support that you have given to me and to the office during your tenure as a commissioner. You have been one of our biggest supporters, and this is prior to me becoming sheriff. And I just can't thank you enough for the support that you have given to the office of sheriff in Yamhill County, to Tim, to myself, and to the team. And I've brought you a lot of issues over the past year that we've been able to work together to find solutions. And you being my liaison commissioner, I just wanted to share with you how much I appreciate the support that you have given to me and to the sheriff's office during your time as a commissioner.
Thank you, Sheriff. I had no idea all this was going on this morning, so I was very surprised. But we missed you this morning.
I wish I could be there.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind comments.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, so I have some looks like prepared comments here, or oral testimony. So we will start with Debbie and Greg Poupard. Do you want to come up together? Welcome. If you could please state your name and address for the record.
Greg and Debbie Poupard, 23333 Southwest Solar Drive, Willamina.
Welcome.
Thank you. My husband and I have endeavored to come to county commissioners meetings at least once a month for the last 2 or 3 years, and we have been to many meetings. I just want to say on the record that in all that, in all that time, we have witnessed nothing but wisdom, and the decisions made here were for the people of Yamhill County, not for personal or political gain. Thank you. You all have done an amazing job. I am saddened in the last election that so many people believe some outright lies instead of actually coming here to find out firsthand that you are here for the people. Commissioner Lindsay, to say that you'll be missed is an understatement. I thank you for being strong and standing up for us in the face of opposition and making the best decisions possible to keep our county livable. You've been amazing, and I know you'll be blessed whether you're here or whether God has you elsewhere. Thank you for your service here. The list of your accomplishments is long, and I declare that they will remain a testimony to your time here. I want to also take this opportunity to speak blessing over this county and the county commissioners whoever they may be, and that there will continue to be wise decisions for this land. I speak blessing over Yamhill County land itself. May it be a place of peace, healing, love, and joy, and the people be endowed with courage to always do the right thing, as we have seen an example of, and the discernment to see what that right thing is. God bless America, and God bless Yamhill County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is, excuse me. My name is Greg Papard. Again, I'd like to thank you for your service. I'd like to thank the three of you. You guys are a great team, and you guys have accomplished a lot in your time together, and like prioritizing public safety, limiting government regulations, protecting property rights, keeping Yamhill County taxes low, prioritizing critical services, keeping government open and honest. And I don't know, I feel that the people of Yamhill County have lost a great commissioner, and I wish that, I don't want to say positive, and that, anyways, and just want to let you know, we will keep Yamhill County great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the,
If I may have.
the kind words. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay, next up is Rebecca Wallace. Welcome. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Wallace. I am from Newburgh, Oregon. Good morning, commissioners. Today, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to Lindsay Burschauer for her remarkable service as a Yamhill County Commissioner. Lindsay has been a steadfast advocate for the people of this county, standing up for our values and holding the line on the issues that matter most to our citizens. In an era where it's all too easy to compromise principles or yield to political pressure, Lindsay stood firm. She fought tirelessly for fiscal responsibility, individual freedoms, and policies that upheld the best interests of Yamhill County. Her leadership was guided by her unwavering commitment to serving the citizens and ensuring their voices were heard. Her loss in the recent election is truly a loss for Yamhill County. It underscores the importance of strong, principled leadership in safeguarding the values we hold dear. Lindsay's dedication and determination have left a lasting mark on our community, and her efforts to protect taxpayers and promote accountability will not be forgotten. Lindsay, your work has made a difference. You guys started this. You have upheld the principles of good governance, fairness, and responsibility, even in the face of significant challenges. We are grateful for the legacy you leave behind and the example you've set for what true public service looks like. On behalf of all who recognize and appreciate your contributions, thank you. Thank you for your service, your passion, and your dedication to the people of Yamhill County. We are better because of your leadership, and we are deeply appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Next, we have Dennis Gex, former Commissioner Dennis Gex.
This is from my wife, Ruth, and myself. I'm Dennis Gex, 14325 Northwest Pheasant Hill Road, McMinnville, Oregon. We appreciate the service Lindsay Burschauer has given as Yamhill County Commissioner. Lindsay has maintained limited county government and minimized intrusion into our private lives. Lindsay has kept us out of the Portland Metro Taxing Authority and all the costs that could result. Lindsay is a political warrior. This is not an easy road to walk. There are many liberal Democrats with a great hunger to spend OPM, other people's money. The vault soon empties as those taxes become overburdened. The Lindsays of the world try to do only that which we cannot reasonably do for ourselves in the political world. They are attacked without mercy. Thank you, Lindsay, for your willingness to truly work for us over the last 4 years. Godspeed as your future develops. One side comment off of this, I noticed here about a week ago, they were talking about the county consolidation and what's going on with the Oregon Mutual facility and that sort of thing. And there seemed to be a great appreciation of the fact that the county had terrific borrowing power. It's people like you, Lindsay, that have caused that to develop, because I can tell you, if people like you had not been here, that ability would not exist today. It would have been squandered long ago. So for my wife, Ruth, and myself, thank you very much.
Thank you. I have leaned on former Commissioner Gex many times over the years, whether he signed up for it or not, I don't know. But I've appreciated your wisdom and advice, so thank you. Okay, next up is Craig Pupils.
My name is Craig Hubels, and I'm 2075 Northwest High Heaven Road here in McMinnville. And I just wanted to thank you, Commissioner Bertschauer, for the service you've been to the county here. As I stated earlier, the first time I met you, I was not too friendly. I was a little antagonistic because I wasn't quite sure what your plans were, but as I got to know you and work with you, it's completely changed. And I'm now 100% supporter for what you've done for the county. You have done a lot selflessly. People get into public service and politics sometimes for the wrong reasons. So a lot of times it's for personal ego. And I know that that is not the case with you. You are a public servant from the true sense of the word. You have done a lot for Yamhill County, not just Newburgh and McMinnville, the big towns, but for the rest of the county here too. I've been working out in the west part of the county, Sheridan and Willamina, and the people out there, you have done a lot to help those folks out there, and that is truly appreciated. And I sure hope that we can see you in public service in the future. You have a talent that the rest of us don't have. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. That was one of our goals, was to make sure the West Valley was seen and heard. So it's great to hear that they feel that they have been. So, and the final slip that I have is Mayor Hillary Malcolmson.
Good morning, Hillary Malcolmson. I guess I'll just leave it as Lafayette, Oregon. While I officially am coming here as the mayor of Lafayette to thank the county commissioners in true small town fashion, my statement is also as a mom, and also as it be just the way fate aligns, the site coordinator for an after-school program. So you guys can decide which hat this goes under in public record. I just wanted to, since I was here attending, take the time. During the last few months, I had a few citizens ask me, well, how has the county engaged or stepped up or, excuse me, represented Lafayette specifically? And while there was multiple things, one of the things that is my favorite one to share, just happens to be that somehow I got involved with, is the ARPA funds that you guys expended towards the after-school enrichment program. And while I am technically an employee of the zone, I am the site coordinator now for Lafayette. That, like I said, that's how small towns work. We all wear many different hats, and a parent of students for the program. I'm coming to you officially as a mayor, because that's the position I have the authority to speak on, just to thank you for recognizing the youngest of our communities And that even though the Lafayette site was already up and running before those funds were expended, it's allowed the confidence for our families to realize that that program's here to stay, and giving them those tools they need. But it also is showing our students that you don't have to live in the bigger towns to have things. And as many of our other small towns know, that sometimes we're isolated and we can't make it to other places. Just to have a student go into McMinnville, for instance, or Newburgh to get a service is hard. And so I just wanted to thank you guys. Technically, we have over 50 students just in Lafayette being serviced, and the community it's creating, not just for those students, but for the families too, is it's becoming a community, not just because it's a place for the students to go, and but just it's a great connection as a mayor. Also, I get the luxury of meeting the families where they need it the most, but also you guys, by recognizing those younger students in our whole county, we're raising those students up to be as strong and as possible, because they're not just our future citizens, they are our current ones. So I just wanted to acknowledge that those funds are appreciated and being used. So,
Did you say over 50 kids, 50?
Yes. yeah,
And they're all local from?
all of and the Lafayette one, I don't know what the other locations are, but
Okay.
I know that it ranges from 20 to 70 at the other locations too.
Wow.
So, and then at least one more being in the works in McMinnville, and even branching out into a different county, into Tigard too, is going to happen. So
Nice.
it's a growing program, but yeah, I get to be blessed and be hands-on with all of our students. It's really fun. They like to tell people, that's the mayor. And I'm like, no, I'm not right now. So anyway, I just want to thank you guys. I know that not always you get to hear the thanks when things are going good, but so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any more slips, but if there's any more public comment from the audience, or if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. And it looks like we have Miss Beth Kaiser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Beth Kaiser of Newburgh, Oregon. And I'm just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but I am enjoying some time in Texas. And Lindsay, I just wanted to take time to thank you so much for all you've done for our county. As a voter, I was curious what happened at these county commissioner meetings. So about a year ago, I started attending them so that I could really see what was happening. And what I saw was a compassionate leader and a true, someone who truly appreciated the concerns of the citizens, and someone who wanted to lead fiscally responsibly and watch out for the taxpayers' money. And as a taxpayer, I really, really appreciated that approach. And, you know, you took a lot of heat during COVID for policies that didn't serve all the people. And I think it's so easy for leaders to kind of go mainstream all the time and not back down or make different choices. The choices you made helped everyone and not just a select group. And I appreciate that and value that. I so appreciate, you know, the responsibility you took listening to committees and listening to staff, because I heard the staff reporting and they brought the ideas and you weighed them and decided they were good, and you agreed with them. And it's just that working together with the staff that I really appreciated. And, you know, I'm thinking of budget time, and you made some really hard decisions that you took heat for, but they were for the better of the whole county. I mean, just look at the OMI building and the police department and the good that you did there. And I just thank you for that. You're an excellent role model. If I had a daughter, I would have her look to you. And I hope that the people that come after you can look to your leadership and see how well you led, and that they can follow that same methodology and pattern. And I dare say that you probably are the greatest of all time commissioner that I've witnessed. And I thank you for your dedication and your service.
Thank you, Beth. This is not fair. Next week is my next meeting. My last meeting. Okay, any further public comments? All right. Oh, Bob. You want to come on up? And just state your name and let us know where you're from.
Bob Youngman, 401 East First Street, Newburgh, Oregon. I would ask us to remember how and why Yamhill County is unique. It's been our pleasure, our family, to have been born and raised. I was born and raised here. And so we've known most of the county commissioners. And they reflect what's unique about Yamhill County. We're not Multnomah County. We're not Washington County. We're Yamhill County. We care about each other. And how are you doing? So speaking for myself, we need people, commissioners such as yourself, Commissioner Bershauer. So thank you for making yourself available. We hope that this is not the end, but the beginning, another beginning. Thank you. And thank you for picking out the shoes that I'm wearing.
I was going to
Thank you
say,
very
those are
much.
some spiffy shoes. Thank you, Bob.
Just one more.
Welcome.
Steve Howard, 7825 Northeast Highway 240, Yamhill, Oregon. Lindsay, I do not have a prepared statement, but from my heart, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for what you've done. You're leaving a big hole to fill, and I hope the commissioner coming in will be able to at least accomplish part of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. What are you up to?
Kit Johnston, Yamhill County Commissioner, Dayton, Oregon. I have my own public comment to make. Me and Mary got a gift for you.
Aw.
And it became evident during your campaign that you had a passion for quilts. And
I love
it
it.
became secondarily evident when we jokingly fought over the quilts hanging on the wall when we went and visited the CTEC, the Barbara Roberts CTEC Center out in Sheridan. And in the school district office, there was quilts lined all along the wall. So we thought it'd be a good gift. And it's not a parting gift, it's a see you later gift. I'm going to tear the Band-Aid off right now. This is not your gift. The reason I brought this is so that everybody here knows that my comment is not empty. I made this quilt for my wife, and I know the time and dedication that it takes and that goes into making quilts. And this is absolutely perfect gift to represent how you've treated this position. It's been an honor to work next to you for the last 2 years. Yes. And the time and dedication that you've spent being commissioner was just next level. So I think this is just perfect. Not this one, but
You did not make this one.
I did not make. So so we went out to the C-Tech Center again because both of us were eyeballing the ones that were hung on the walls out there. This actually was not hanging on the wall. We get out there and Dory, when I called her, she's like, yep, I can take care of it. It's actually a quilting club out in Sheridan that sells them hanging on the walls. And so we went out there and we're looking around, and I remember you had your eyes on a cat one, and I know you love dogs, and so I'm like, man, I wish there was something else. Well, Dory comes out of the back room with a whole nother stack of them. And immediately when I opened that one, I'm like, this has Lindsay written all over it. So this is me and Mary's gift to you. Again, it is not a farewell. It is a see you later gift from me and Mary.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
This quilt was made, just so we know, it was made by a Pamela Hylton, if that's said right, and it's called Oregon Reverie. It was made in 2019, so a little hard to know with that, but.
Like all day, I'm like, I hope she sees this one and thinks it's hers, so I can try to be funny. But in the end, I couldn't be funny about it. So
There's a reason why
mine's falling apart.
we
too.
call him the GOAT, greatest of all times, because he even made a quilt. I just want to say, this is our last meeting as a trio. Commissioner Johnston is going to join us by Zoom next week. But this is the last time that we're all together. I want to say all the time that I've spent here and all the commissioners I've worked with, we've had some cohesive boards, but nothing like this. We've not always agreed, but we always could trust each other. We always told each other the truth, and we always worked for one reason, and that was for the people that we served. I know there are huge stilettos that need to be filled when Lindsay leaves. And I always say she has a heart of gold and a spine of steel. She never flinched. She always did the right thing. And it's been an honor to work with her, and I will miss her terribly. And we all will. And this is our last meeting together, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Thank you all. That's such an honor. I appreciate it. I have all my comments prepared for next week, so you're going to have to listen again next week. Okay. Any further public comment? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That was very special. And now we are moving on to something that I am very excited about. It's a presentation by the treasurer of the YCSO, Yamhill County Sheriff's Office Foundation, Rob Vandenberg. Welcome, Rob. And he is going to give us some exciting news about an organization that has been a dream for a long time and been in the works for a long time, and it's finally gone live. So we're excited to hear it.
I'm not sure I'm supposed to follow the quilts. I don't have one. So bear with me here. So yeah, the foundation's been a long time coming. It's been in the works for several years. And so I thank you for inviting me to share information about the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office Foundation. As the commissioner said, I'm Rob Vandenberg. I'm currently the treasurer of the foundation. I've also served on the board of the Washington County Sheriff's Office Foundation in various roles, including being the foundation president. Our current board officers are Jim Wheaton, who's the president, John Summers, the vice president, and Holly Winter, the secretary. So the mission of the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office is to raise and distribute funding which supports the Sheriff's Office to enhance public safety and law enforcement services within Yamhill County, which are not funded through the regular sheriff's budget. The foundation offers a tax-deductible way for businesses and citizens throughout our community to directly participate in public safety projects approved by the Sheriff's Office but not covered by general county funds. So through my involvement at Washington County, their foundation, for example, has been able to provide funding for employee wellness, peer support initiatives, search and rescue with a large 15-person van for transport, and the K-9 program to include where their foundation provides funding for medical care to the retired canines. So they're able to provide that gap coverage where the person that adopts the dog would have to essentially cover all those expenses on their own. And so we hope to bring similar programs and many more here. And that's just a very short example of what they've been able to accomplish. Our goal is to accomplish that and more. And our ultimate goal is with the foundation is to provide Sheriff Elliott and the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office with these funds to support public safety through innovative programs and solutions and equipment which are not covered by the existing Sheriff's Office budget. And with that, I would just open the floor up to any questions you guys might have about the foundation and specifics you're looking for.
Thank you. So you said you're part of the Washington County Foundation too. What kind of events do you guys typically do?
So our big event for the Washington County Foundation that they've done for many years is the K-9 trials. I'm sure some of you may have heard it. It's a big, they have it at the Hillsborough Stadium every year where all the competition for top dog, they do all the agility, searching, some like, I guess, handler agility stuff. And that's the big event that the Washington County one sponsors. And they get about 6,000 to 7,000 people a year coming to that event.
Wow.
And the foundation's role in that is to sell sponsorships and basically raise funds for the K-9 program and others at that event.
So, you know, as you guys are talking through plans over this coming year, are you working to develop, you know, Yamhill County specific events that might
So
be-
that's one of the things that I think we'd like to partner with Sheriff Elliott on is figuring out what events we can do, whether that be maybe something similar or something other that's maybe a little different, a little more innovative for the Yamhill County to provide, but those are all still in the works. I don't have any specifics.
Yeah.
There's some fundraising stuff that we'd like to do next year. This year was all about building that foundation, trying to get all the basically the foundation per se of the mechanics of it kind of outlined and done so that we can build those fundraising and do those things in the future. There's a lot of work that goes into establishing the nonprofit. As you know, it's been many years kind of planning and getting this off the ground.
Okay, great. When I spoke to the sheriff about these foundations, you know, one of the things that he mentioned that they provide is support and training for spouses of deputies and counseling, family counseling, trauma crisis type counseling, which is really important. We don't often think about that, but those services often can't be paid for through, you know, a sheriff's budget. So is that something that Washington County has done?
Yeah, they've done some things up there with, they wrap it into what they call their chaplaincy program. And it's basically peer support. They have training. They spend, I couldn't tell you the numbers without pulling them, but they spend a significant amount on that stuff. Employee wellness, training, trauma, peer support, those kind of things. And there's definitely funding available that we would like to bring a very similar program here to support. As you said, the county really can't fund that in a budgeted way, and this would be one step closer to getting that paid for so that people can have those services.
Yeah, wonderful. Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, thank you for doing this and thank you for being here today. The sort of wish list that our sheriff has, I know he's on the line, but I'm not sure in what capacity he's able to comment on this because this is a separate entity, so I will leave that up to him. But are there any thoughts right now about what the wish list is and what's been presented to you?
I don't have any specifics on the exact wish list right now. I mean, I know there's, I'm sure there's a long list of wish list things that people like, as we all do, but nothing's set in stone right now as far as what we, have on the plate for funding. But I would let Sheriff comment on that.
Sheriff, I don't know if you can still, because I know you're otherwise engaged today, but if there's a way that you can chime in, it would be nice for us to maybe have an idea of what you'd like to be able to fund with this that you're not able to fund with your current budget.
Yeah, thank you. One of the big kind of pushes right now, and obviously I was in front of you last week, and we were able to obtain the contract for the chaplaincy service for staff, but really building out that peer support to include significant others of our staff and a lot of our volunteers. So being able to allow them to go to peer support training, to go to some of the specialized training for our spouses and significant others so that they understand some of the reasons why after a particularly hard day or a hard week, they might see certain behaviors and how to navigate those in a healthy way for longevity of our employees and their families. There's always opportunities, as I've discussed with you before, really looking long-term to build out our capacity within the sheriff's office to address the problems that we face. And I'm talking specifically about tactical problems. I have not had an opportunity to share with you, but I was able to obtain a vehicle that has armor for free through the partnership with the 1033 program, and that has come in, but continuing to purchase that safety equipment, rifle rated vests, and some of the specialty equipment that allow us to more safely address some of the significant tactical problems that we've been seeing over the last few years around the county, and not relying as heavily on support from other counties that would have to respond here. The K9 program continuing to grow, taking advantage of some of those grant opportunities, but the planning for how to take care of the dogs that have given years of service to the county when they retire, and provide for the costs associated with veterinary and medical care for those animals. And then just some high level discussions we've had about kind of wrapping up a lot of our other volunteer programs under the umbrella of the foundation. We do some of our big events every year: National Night Out, Shop with a Sheriff. The ability to have that more organized structure where those are really more of kind of a grant opportunity, where we don't have individual volunteer units that are having to go out and fundraise, but they can direct all of that under the foundation, and then those programs can tap into the foundation to be supported for those events that we do in the community, increasing the things that we're able to provide at our booth at the county fair, when we go to National Night Out, when we go to the city festivals, just to really advertise and market the sheriff's office and illustrate to people that we are part of their community wherever they are in the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Do you have a question?
No, I just want to say that I appreciate just what he touched on at the very end, the Shop with the Sheriff. We've been super involved with that over the years, and I love the forward aspect of it, that they're out there in the community helping these kids shop. I know that we did it, I think 2 years ago, me and my wife, and it is an absolute blast running around with those kids shopping, and it's going to be nice that there's solid support for that and the peer support services for the family. And I'm definitely looking forward to supporting this foundation.
Thank you.
Thank
The
you
one
very
thing I
much.
did want to mention, just so you guys are aware too, is that, and I should have mentioned it at the beginning, is the board is all volunteer, so nobody's paid. Everything is through their basically their time. So no administrative fees other than, taxes, insurance, that kind of stuff. But everybody else is giving their time, myself and all of our other board members. So trying to keep the overhead as low as possible to provide the maximum amount of dollars back to the community.
How will you start? How are you going to roll out fundraising and getting people to know about things?
That is a great question. We have had some ideas, nothing's set in stone yet, so I don't want to jump the gun. We're looking to, I mean, if anybody here or listening wants to volunteer to be a committee for fundraising, we're always open for new members, because we don't have anything set in stone. This year is all about getting all the things we need to run a nonprofit: books, articles, stuff filed with the state, the amount of effort we've had to overcome, and then given the fact that everybody else is working full time. Myself and all of us on the board are all full-time employees of other things. And so it's just nights and weekends trying to get these things done.
If somebody who hears this meeting wants to write a check, how would they do that and where would it go?
So we have a website. It's all the information is listed on our website. It's ycsofoundation.org. It's all available online. There's some information about how to donate, where to mail a check, or you can donate through our website. The website's very preliminary right now, I'll say, and we're trying to build it out. And getting everything going.
We're here to help.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time and the service to the county. Thank you for your service as our reserve deputy, one of them. So appreciate that as well.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I do think this is an exciting opportunity, one that we've been talking about. I think even when Sheriff Svensson was here, it was being discussed as an idea. And, you know, we go through this every year in budget discussions, how we have one major department that really requires more and more of the general fund and is dependent on that, and the needs never go down. And so I think this is a great opportunity to help supplement some of the needs of our sheriff's department. So it's good to see.
Again, thank you, guys.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Okay. So for department updates, there's nothing today. That brings us to our work session, and how convenient. So item 1 on our work session is discussion of commissioner discretionary allocations. And commissioners, I added this discussion on here, you know, mainly for the purposes of requesting that the remaining balance of my total discretionary fund over the past 4 years be donated to the YCSO Foundation. I put together that's the primary reason for adding it, but the secondary reason is I have had a lot of commentary over the years on
Thank you.
having us be accountable to each other, not just the public, but to each other about how we spend these funds. Just for the public, there's $1,500 a year per budget year for each commissioner to allocate, you know, how they wish in the community, to a nonprofit, to a county department if they wanted to. And I think that going forward, I would love to see something like this where, you know, when budget cycle comes around, budget discussions come around, that there's a review of where commissioner discretionary funds have gone, so that we're not sending money to, you know, I can't remember what my example was, but some goat rescue in South Carolina or something.
Oh, crap.
We kind of want the money to stay here. So anyway, in the spirit of that, I went back and reviewed all 4 years of discretionary, and all of the allocations that I chose. Turtle Dove Shelters was a local nonprofit in McMinnville. They were making shelters for houseless individuals. Yamhill County Fair, as you recall, during the wildfires in 2020, they opened the gates, turned the lights on, turned the heat on, turned the water on for everybody, and never charged anyone a dime. So I sent all of my discretionary money to their budget to help them backfill some of those expenses. And then our fair ambassadors and our 4-H and FFA awards at the fair have been really important to us. And so that was the remaining part of the awards that I chose to do over the 4 years. That said, there is $3,150 left in sort of my total bucket or account, and that is the amount that I'm requesting go to the YCSO Foundation. But we've talked about giving these sort of brief reports during budget discussions, and I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that. Just, here's what I chose and this is why. And I think that it's just an extra step of transparency for the public and for each other. So that really is the purpose of the discussion of the work session. We do have perhaps some budgetary maneuvers we have to do to sort of make this happen. I think technically our budget only carries over the $1,500 per commissioner each year, so there's $4,500 in the fund. So, it would be an exhaust, basically moving that down to close to zero, emptying out that fund.
Be great for me to. I just wanna-
All eyes are on you.
It's completely up to how the board wants to do it. We do appropriate, because how we build that budget each year, it's not necessarily, kind of a rolling amount that carries forward each year, and unless the board wants to, do that, it's kind of based on past practice. It was a spending limit up to each year, kind of thing. And so completely up to the board. I believe 500's been spent. There's 4,000 that's available in that line, but then there's other appropriation authority within that specific fund. Some additional cost savings. So what happens, just like any other expense line that's in the budget, the money doesn't get spent. It ends up in the beginning balance of the following year, and then we reappropriate it throughout the various lines. So if the board is wanting to move forward with this, I don't have any concerns with the appropriation authority. We have cost savings in some of the other lines, and we can do that.
The reason I bring it up though is because it would be exhausting that particular balance, and technically $3,000 of that balance belongs to my colleagues. So
that's a discussion that the board can have on that, but we can do it. I mean, it's like any other budgetary action. If the board has something that they want to spend money on, you give me the direction and I'll find where in the budget we spend the funds on it. But we do have funds available in there to cover this.
I don't have any problem with exhausting it for the Sheriff's Foundation.
No, and my understanding was it always accumulated anyway. So if we got to change that to make it accumulate, that's what I would prefer. Mine's easy. Mine's 0. So I have $3,000 for 2 years as of January 6th or whatever.
So I'd been saving mine up over the last 10 years. And every time I mention it,
I'm glad you went last.
kind of just cringes. I did rate it for Homeward Bound at one point for the shelter. But so I always thought, well, I'm saving it up for, a big ticket item like the shelter or something big. And then come to find out, if you don't spend it, you lose it, kind of a thing. And I thought, well, okay, Ken, you've been sort of raiding our cookie jar. And now
It's all been
it's
staying in
time
the same
to,
fund.
it's time to pay the piper. So I figured, well, I'm not going to make that an issue. I just want to make sure that whatever we can get to the Sheriff's Foundation, we do. But I'm also, as you mentioned, Chair, in the past, there have been concerns about how commissioners have spent these funds. And there was not much accountability at all. And come to find out, there were significant amounts of money that were spent on things that definitely were not appropriate. And I appreciate the fact that you're bringing this up, because this way it's very transparent. In the past, it was really not. And I would like to see that happen. But I also am concerned about, if it is cumulative, we could actually have somebody who would take advantage of that large amount of money if it was accumulated over the years. And since there really is no guardrail on it, it might not be a bad idea to just keep it.
And that's fine, long as I guess everybody's aware to spend the funds by the end of the year or whatever, if that's what they so choose. But my understanding was it rolled over.
Right.
As long as my understanding is that it doesn't, I'm totally fine with that.
Right.
So,
And if I could, because just to kind of, because I was kind of preparing, because I figured we were going to have this discussion, and we've had this discussion in the past. And so I just, a look back and look, because there used to be a section in the procedures ordinance, the board that is now ordinance 900. When that was updated, there was a section that was removed from a previous version, and this was before I was administrator. So this was, I'm maybe 2014, 2015. I don't remember off the top of my head when it was adopted. But for years in the procedures ordinance, there was language in that agreement that, in fact, the exact language that was pulled was, each commissioner, it kind of set that, may make routine decisions that, within that area of responsibility as set forth in the divisions of responsibility, which is referring to the areas of liaison, including expenditures of county funds and amounts of no more than $1,000 per expenditure, up to a maximum of $5,000 per fiscal year for all expenditures from the county budget. And then there was an expectation that if a commissioner spent that within that fund, they would come back and report to the commissioners. So that was a longstanding policy item. I don't have the history of when that was removed, but when it was removed, that's when we went to, the boards at that time established $1,500 kind of per commissioner, that it doesn't require that if you get a foundation or you're doing those type of donation, it gives you the flexibility to, it gives you some funds that you can apply without necessarily coming back and having a discussion with the full board. You have that authority to do that. And when, of course, we track it in the accounting system, like any other expenditure, any check that we write, we track that. So long story short, if there's interest in revisiting that, I would probably recommend, to resolve any confusion or anything like that. And so I just don't always come across as the bad guy.
Yeah.
We can update, possibly, I'd probably recommend updating the procedures ordinance, that we could add a section back in there based on up-to-date language. If you want the funds to carry over, if you want to just be a spending limit each year to do that, we could do that. But right now there's no language in the procedures ordinance other than this is what we've budgeted, as far as, it's aspirational, but it's not tied to a policy in particular. But then, like I said, ultimately funding decisions, that's completely up to the board. We have the appropriation authority. So however you'd like to proceed, just let me know.
okay. I'd like to follow suit with my 2 years accumulation of $3,000 to the Yamhill County Sheriff's Foundation.
I think the assumption, at least of the three of us, was that it accumulated. If that policy needs to change, then that's, the board that's going to be seated in 2025, I think, should make that decision. But I think that, we sort of had an assumption that it accumulated.
Okay, because I'm prepared to just say, okay, we'll go with what's left. Because if I were to use all the money that I have coming, you wouldn't be able to buy the OMI building. So I'll take one for the team on this one, but you're welcome. And I would just go with that, because it would pretty much, that would be a lot. Don't you think? Because if I had, yeah,
It was a few years
it was a few years.
but we did spend funds on the Homeward Bound.
That was 5.
Right.
So let's see, I've been here 10 years. All right, never mind.
10 grand.
That's, yeah.
That's a nice.
But I
chunk.
used 5, and then I probably used something here and there, but little. So I'm just going to say at this point, I'd be happy with what we have in there and start over.
And I'd be happy to do a look back if you want to come back and have a discussion about if the amount, if you want me to go back and do a look back.
That's fine. I'll go with whatever's left. I'll just,
Yeah, and we can.
Are you saying you're
we-
forfeiting?
I'm forfeiting, but with reservations, but I also know that that's a big chunk of money. And I know that,
Mhm.
I have to say that our board has been very fiscally restrained. In the past, there was mileage, there were meals, there were hotels, there were flights to, numerous flights back and forth to Washington DC, massive amounts of extraneous expense that was used that really did attack the commissioner's discretionary, our budget. And we haven't done that. We haven't put in for mileage. We haven't done, write off meals, write off hotels, fly back and forth to Washington DC. So all that money has pretty much made it a very healthy balance. So I know that we've been very conservative, and I don't want this particular board to then suffer for the fact that we have really, we've used a lot of our own money for things that we typically have in the past have been charged to the county. So I want to be able to be smart about it.
Well, here's my thought. Mine is, I think, just over 3,000. Kids is 3,000. Would you consider matching us and instituting your forfeiture on the rest of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Ken's doing the math.
Yeah. So just under almost 10,000 total.
So if you were to look at the savings of all of the mileage and all that stuff that isn't constantly, I mean, there's a big, that's been a big savings over the years.
Oh, yeah. I think in 4 years, I've probably asked for a total of $200 in mileage reimbursement. It's virtually nothing. No
Yeah,
meals.
And that's all reflected in the beginning balance each year.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do know there's some cost savings, because we have a vacant position in that, so there's appropriation authority. There's funds available to do this.
I don't think we've flown anywhere.
Even if I do, mine is 0.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't plan, so I have no problem with doing this is pretty simple and straightforward, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if
So-
you actually have to look at vacancy savings in order to do this, is that what you're saying?
No, it's just a reminder on the budget process on how we build the budgets each year. One, the appropriation authority within a budgetary line is not locked in. You have the ability to overspend or underspend other lines as long as you're staying within the appropriation authority within that fund. What happens is you go through the budget year, and then when I start building this budget, I look at all the various lines that are underspent or overspent and look at that final balance to project an ending balance for this year and a beginning balance for the new fiscal year. So all those cost savings that you have when you're saving on mileage lines, or you're saving on discretionary, or you're saving on vacancy savings, that's all reflected. It all goes up to the beginning balance, what's projected for the new fiscal year. And so when we build the budget, that beginning balance is factored in with all the additional revenues that come in, and that's where I build the budget for the next fiscal year.
No, I know that. I guess what I'm saying is if being
It's-
able to do this was predicated on but it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
What I was saying is we have existing vacancy savings right now because we've been going through a recruiting process. We have a vacant position in the office that we're still in the process of filling. So that's where I was saying I know we have some cost savings over the first 4 months of this fiscal year that is far exceeds $10,000.
Okay.
So I was saying we'd be able to manage that within the funds that we have with no issue.
Okay. And it is just going across the street across the hall to the sheriff's department, office. So, yeah.
Okay.
And if there's consensus, it doesn't require any board action. So if there's consensus based on what you had, the 3150 times 3, or do you want to just round it off and just say 10,000, right?
Just 10.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
fine.
Okay. Well,
And then
that's,
Next year, we'll have discussion about policy
yeah.
and then make sure everybody understands allocations need to be spent by the end of the year or whatever. Have that conversation in July or May, June.
Actually, it's completely up to the board. You can
Okay.
have that conversation as early as January,
Yeah.
at any time with updating the procedures ordinance.
Okay.
Seems like that would be easier. Spend it or lose it.
Yeah.
Just in terms
I'm
of
all right with that.
budgetary
As long
impact.
as it's an understanding.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a really nice check for the YCSO Foundation. And again, we appreciate everything that they do. Okay, and now we have a second work session, speaking of discretionary. And this is regarding fiscal year 26 budget, and it is a review and discussion of 2025-26 discretionary allocation.
We're going to talk about money. Yeah, I've got some handouts that circulate.
Thank you, sir.
Trying my best not to talk while I was walking around. So the board's familiar with this. This is the annual work session that we have that really kicks off our budget work for starting to build budgets for fiscal year 26. And so the first thing, the first step is this work session to talk about setting the initial FY26 discretionary allocation for departments and approving the budget instructions. And so you have two handouts. One, you have the memo that's specific to the discretionary allocation. The second one is the draft budget instructions that I'll be issuing to, if the board approves this morning, I'll be issuing to department heads on January 7th. And then that's what, this kicks off the budget. And then once we get into January 7th, that's when we start building budgets, getting ready for budget committee, getting ready for the 2 hearings, and eventually for budget adoption in June. It's a very lengthy process, and we have a lot of steps to follow. I know all 3 of you have seen this and been through this a few times, so I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in. The first thing that I would probably refer you to is on the first one that's titled, it's the memorandum that's consideration of setting initial discretionary allocation. And if you look at the attachments on the first table that's going to be here, and you're going to see the cells that are highlighted in yellow. These are just projections in the yellow section. The first or the second to last column is a very basic projection where I think revenues are going to come in this current fiscal year to help project the ending balance and the ending balance for this year and the beginning balance, which means a lot of times this is where we identify we over collect in revenues. It's the first handout kit. If you're in the one with all the other tables, that's the budget instructions.
Oh, he got 2 of the
I
same.
give you 2 of the same ones.
Here, I'll take this one.
Thank you. No worries.
Yeah, so the table I'm talking about is page 2. So you're going to see I'm being, as usual, I try to be very conservative when projecting because I'm only halfway through the fiscal year right now. And a lot of the revenues that come in, I know Derek's office, tax and assessment is very busy collecting taxes right now. And so we're getting a clearer picture on what that's going to look like, what property tax revenues are going to look like. And it's going to be better than what we had budgeted, which I always like to see. And you're going to see the same thing with the comparison of what I have projected as a beginning balance compared to what's budgeted. That's very good because, again, I'm pleased when I see that. I get concerned if that number's less than what we have budgeted, because then that's when we have to start, talking about making some difficult decisions. But both the projected beginning balance and projected tax revenues that are coming in higher than what was budgeted. I'm very conservative when it comes to all the other taxes that come in, the marijuana, tobacco, alcohol,
Lottery.
only because we get those revenues. It's really driven by what's happening in the various markets, what's happening with new legislation that could be coming along. Marijuana tax is a good example, that a lot of times the legislature will do things and we'll see a reduction to that because they're diverting some of that revenue to other areas. And then also the revenues don't come in on a regular schedule. I can't just set my calendar and know that projecting out to the end of the year. So you're going to see that I'm very conservative when it comes to that. That being said, we're in a good place. The revenues are coming in higher. A lot of that's driven by the beginning balance because fiscal year 23-24 came in higher than projected. And so you see that compound for each year. All that to say, that's what I use to kind of project what beginning balance is going to look like for FY26. And you can see that I have that we're going to have a beginning balance of 4.3 million, 4.4 million right in there. You're going to see a revenue line that's working with the assessor. We're looking at collection rates for the current year, projecting that out. And then we have a formula that we do to kind of project what we think with input from Derek on what that revenue line is going to look like. You're going to see that it appears we're going to be in a good place. About 29 million in property taxes coming in. And then much in the same way, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to looking at those lines. I look at prior year trends, and you'll see when you look at some of the trending for some of these revenues, like for tobacco, that's been steadily declining over the years. Alcohol, we have good years, slow years. That's just kind of all over the map. But overall, I'm feeling really good projecting that we're looking at 35.9 million that what I have projected for FY26. Now, this is a very early projection, and when I actually start building the budgets and what used to be called 1002 in the budget, I'll adjust that all throughout the budget process. I'm constantly looking at the year-to-dates and, but I'm not anticipating that I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't missed the mark yet. Typically, if anything, we usually end up over collecting. Revenues will come in slightly higher than what I actually build into the budget.
Yeah,
But
it's very
again,
close.
That's what, plan for the worst. You stay conservative with your revenues and, plan for catastrophes with your expenditures. So I feel like the general fund is in a very strong place right now. Any questions on this table? So the next one is the big table, the 11 by 17, the one I have to fold up. And I know you're familiar with this because this is part of the budget binders when we get to budget committees. And what this table, you're gonna, when you're looking at it, you're gonna see the listed departments in the first column. The next column is the current fiscal year discretionary allocation. And so as you move through the columns, you'll see the initial allocation, which is the third column over. This is where I back out any one-time requests or approvals. So let's just, in the past, the budget committee and the board may have approved, let's just say, a $10,000 one-time contribution for a specific project to the sheriff's office. If that was only intended to be a one-time contribution and not an increase to their annual allocation, here's where I would back that 10,000 out. And so that is where I would start the initial allocation. The fourth column over is my recommendation, and I'm starting, the next two columns are going to be my recommendation. First, I'm recommending an across-the-board 3% increase to departments' general fund allocations. As you know, departments, we have several new collective bargaining agreements in place. We have escalating costs across the board, whether it's fuel, supplies, materials, personnel costs, new collective bargaining agreements coming online. And so the intent is not to necessarily cover all of those increased costs, but it at least gives an initial increase to their discretionary allocation that then the departments can take that number, their base number plus the additional amount, and start looking at their other resources that are coming in and start building budgets to it. The fourth column you're going to see, or the fifth column over, is an additional allocation. As you know, we know we have specific needs, in particular with the sheriff's office. We know we have a new jail medical contract that's coming. Also, the sheriff's office has a new collective bargaining agreement that went into place. And what I'm hoping to do is kind of front load some of these known increases where we've seen add back requests being presented during the budget committee discussions, which in turn can create its own controversies and everything else. I'm trying to, with the board's approval, I have a list of additional allocations that, in addition to the 3%, I have additional funds identified for the jail, and that's specifically for the jail medical contract. You'll see an additional $150,000 to sheriff patrol. You're also going to see some additional amounts for jail maintenance and jail capital to start contributing a little bit additional funds to those budgets. It's completely up to the sheriff on how the funds are going to be broken out expense-wise, but those are some big ones. You're also going to see an additional amount of $70,000 to the assessor's office. The assessor is almost exclusively general fund to support his office. We know he has some needs with software needs and also some personnel. And the intent of the additional amount was hopefully to cover the ongoing expenses that he has with doing some of the flyovers that he requests funds for almost every year. I know this year was covered with it wasn't funded, but the board approved some ARPA funds to fund it. And so this is in recognition to hopefully fund it going forward.
Because we only did half, so
Correct.
this should be the other half.
Correct. And then the big one, probably the biggest one you're going to see that's added is the transfer to capital improvement at $800,000, starting a discretionary allocation. And that's to help pay for the acquisition of a new building and the financing. I want to be able to start, it's not the full amount what we'd be looking at as far as financing goes, but we have other resources within that fund on how we collect and charge departments rent and contributions to that. This is to help both with the payments that we're anticipating they're going to start next fiscal year once we finally close on the acquisition of that building, but it's also to help build up this fund for also improvements needed to the courthouse and some of the other additional projects that we've been identifying, like we said before, that OMI is just part of the overall facilities plan that we're looking at doing over the next several years. So you're going to see that major change, which together, that's an additional 1.6 million that we're looking at distributing. And so then the last one, you're looking at a total allocation of 34,289,087 out to department. And when you go back to the previous table, you're going to see that I have that number plugged in as an allocation. That still leaves, I'm projecting an ending balance of $1.4 million in general fund, which, as you know, you've all heard me, I get nervous if that's below $1 million, because that's really an operational contingency for future fiscal years. I want to make sure we have that. We've been utilizing beginning balances from year to year to help facilitate this, and I want to hold on to reserves.
This year was the first year we actually dipped below that million, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So that's good to see that we're back.
But not by very much.
It's headed the right direction, though.
3% is pretty conservative.
It is.
And even with that and increased revenue,
right,
we're still at 1.4.
Correct.
And we were there last year.
Correct.
And
So-
we built budgets last year on a -2, correct?
No, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, okay.
And that's where some of the balance is also coming from.
Okay.
So
On a high level, all of the ARPA money that we had invested that was earning quite a bit of interest, is that pretty much gone? Is that being
Correct.
sucked into this? So that won't go forward?
it's, you know, yes, and you'd see that in the pool interest earnings, the pool and bond earnings. I do expect we're going to see that going down because we have the 21 million that we received in ARPA funds is all spent. So what I'm hoping is with this plan and with the additional allocation, I'm really hoping that departments will be able to start building their budgets. Because again, what I have in here may not cover everything that they need. You know, there could be other impacts to other revenue resources, the cost increases or things like that. We as departments, when we start building our budgets, this is the baseline to start with, and this is where we sharpen our pencils. We figure out where there's additional resources. We look at our priorities. We cut expenses where we can. And, you know, so again, this is a baseline, and it's going to be, we have 6 months of discussions ahead of us. And this is just the kickoff.
Question about the adjustment to the clerk's budget.
Mm-hmm.
It seems kind of minimal, knowing what issues she's faced in the past with budget concerns. That seems really minimal.
Well, just a reminder that the clerk also gets a lot of revenue from recording fees and other things. The clerk has a pretty diverse, you know, like if an easy comparison, you compare the tax and assessment office to the clerk's office. Historically, the clerk hasn't needed a lot of general fund. In fact, for a number of years, it was kind of trending the other way, to where it was almost self-sufficient from the additional revenues, whereas the clerk or the assessor is almost exclusively general fund.
So for years,
Right.
kind of like planning, they were pretty much able to
Right.
sustain themselves, and then they weren't when recording fees went down.
Correct.
And yet we've always had concerns during budget time where our clerk would bring some of these to us, and
Right.
and that would need to be an add back.
It could be. And that could be a conversation that when Carrie builds her budget and we start getting closer, and because there was a pretty sizable increase last year to her discretionary allocation. At one point, in fact, the figure that's in here, if you were to look back a couple of years, right now, the clerk's discretionary allocation, I'm looking for it right now, is 179,000. 3 years ago, it was 80,000.
And you're not including that, that 50,000 from the ARPA?
Mm-mm. No, the ARPA was one-time funding.
Okay. Okay.
So again, this is a baseline, and I know some of the difficulties come in because you don't see the actual, this is where, when we start building budget books and you start seeing the additional revenues, and departments start figuring out exactly additional needs. This isn't, again, this isn't to solve everything because we haven't gotten into the detailed budget work. This is just to get set an initial discretionary allocation or a baseline amount that then we would start building budgets. And then if we start seeing that there's needs that it's not enough, then that's what would facilitate where we'd see add back requests coming later in the fiscal year or later in the budget process.
Okay. Thank you.
So this pool and bond interest number, the actuals from 23, 24, they're elevated because of ARPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's combination of ARPA, and then also it's just, the interest rates at that
Yeah.
time, what we were getting. But a lot of it had to do with, we had some balances, with the ARPA funds and other areas. I would also highlight that, because we've been saving in Fund 40 for facilities projects. And so we had a number of areas where we were building up some balances. I anticipate that, of course, with the implementation of the facilities plans, we're going to start spending some of those built up reserves that we had specifically targeted for acquisition and renovation projects.
That's quite a dip though. I mean, 350,000.
Yeah.
And anticipated revenue going forward. Any other questions? Are you wanting to go through the whole packet?
No, that, and, oh yeah, the second part. Thank you. The second part, you can take a look at it. These are the budget instructions that we prepare, that I prepare and present to the board now, and then I present it to department heads in January. That's the kickoff for them to start doing this. There's not a lot of changes to the budget instructions compared to what we've done for last year. The only thing that I would emphasize that has been new is a big one for departments. And I know this is not going to be popular with departments, but I will present it. But I'm asking that all reclassification requests or personnel requests, they need to be entered into the initial budget and then presented to the budget committee. And then once they're approved, we're not going to do any more reclassification of personnel. You might remember that right before budget adoption, a lot of times I get departments that are coming forward with last minute reclassification requests or personnel requests. And it's kind of turmoil. We're up against some really short timelines. And so when we start doing a lot of these changes, especially in the, at the very end, where we have a week before budget adoption, sometimes too much change is too much for our staff to really get incorporated. If I'm going to be asking or directing departments to, that all reclassification, new positions, things like that be built into the budget and ready to present to the budget committee. Now, I'm sure there's going to be an emergency one-off or something that maybe wasn't caught that we may have to do between budget approval and budget final adoption, but I'm really hoping that 99% of those will get resolved and presented to the budget committee at that time. Per Oregon budget law, we're only supposed to be changing 10% is a maximum that we can make to the change. We haven't run up against that, but just on the sheer volume of changes and what it requires in getting, this book put together and the final budget reports, it's just proving to be a little bit challenging with these last second major changes. So that's going to be a big one. And it just means departments need to start looking at that earlier in the process than what they may have done in the past. And I'd like to see that start getting built in to the budgets in the initial budget.
So are you saying that basically any reclass has to be within the budget that they've been given, and that's not anything that they can, at the end of the day, come back and say, this is in addition to that?
What I'm saying is they would build that into the initial budget.
Okay.
If they can't afford it and they need to come and make an add back request because they're adding an additional position that they think they absolutely need, they could still make that request during budget committee. What I'm asking is that those requests occur prior to the budget committee approving the budget and not waiting until the hearing and the adoption in June.
Got it.
And so I think that is the one major change. Otherwise, there's really no other major changes to the instructions other than streamlining some more of our internal processes. And then also attached to this is all the tables that departments will use for building. It has everything from it'll have, if the board approves my recommended discretionary allocation, that's the first table. The next table is audited beginning balances for the current fiscal year that they can use to project ending balances for this year and start building their budgets. We have the standard cost table, which is what we use to things like COLAs, longevities, projections on what insurance renewals are going to look like. So all through here is all the typical tables that helps departments build for some of the internal service fees that we have, interfund loans, personnel costs. And then when you get further back, this also sets the calendar, the budget year calendar, on what the process is going to look like. So of course, that's table 16. Today is board consideration and approval of discretionary allocations. January 7th, I will meet with department heads, issue budget instructions. February 7th, all departments have to have their budgets entered into the financial system. From February 11th to the 28th, I'll be meeting with budget staff and doing an initial review of budgets. We get into March, that's when budget message, that's when Carolina, who works really hard during this time getting budget binders ready for the budget committee. We have budget committee scheduled on the calendar for April 28th through April 30th, 3 days like we normally do. And then the other key date is looking at having the budget hearing on May 29th and having the budget adopted on June 12th. You're going to see in years past, that's also a little bit of a change. In the years past, we used to always do it on the very last Thursday in June.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't like doing things all the way at the end because
It'll still get there. Don't worry about it.
because again, this is, again, I want to emphasize, this is probably the most important function, that the board does is adopting our budget for for next year. If we don't have a budget adopted come July 1, we're not able to deliver services. So it's a critical process. I was not a fan of waiting until the very last Thursday because things happen. Power outages, other things, for whatever reason, we can't meet, and then we're scrambling to adopt a budget before June 30th.
Yep.
So you're going to see I've been steadily moving that up, and so now I'm targeting more towards the beginning of June.
I expect your budget chair message to say with an asterisk, budget discussions were completed in record time.
Oh, it'll be special, all right.
But it also allows additional time. It's not just waiting until the end, but if for some reason we come up to budget adoption, there's something that comes up that requires that you can't adopt it on that date because maybe there was an emergency or some crisis that we need to discuss, it at least gives more time to then say, we're not ready to adopt today. Let's have this discussion, get some more data, and we can adopt the following week. And so that's the other reason I want to do this.
Yep.
Not just because I sweat about deadlines, which I do all the time.
I'm right there with you.
Okay, I did a lot of talking, so any questions?
I love how the extra emphasis on the underline on top of being bold. I think they'll get the message for department heads.
Yep.
Stern warnings.
Oh, yeah. It's just, you know, we seem to go through this every year where we have this sort of record revenue. $195 some million, you know, and then you get to the nitty gritty of it and we're barely above $1 million at the end in discretionary. It's just really
right.
Expenses and obligations are outpacing revenue for sure, consistently. All right, so you need a motion, right?
Yes.
And we can do that right now?
Yep.
Okay.
It's sub C.
I will make a motion to set the initial fiscal year 2025-26 discretionary allocation for departments and fiscal year 2025-2026 budget instructions. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Very thorough, as
Yes.
usual.
You're getting really good at this.
Okay. All right, we have one item on our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any questions?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I, old business, there's nothing today. J, other business. J1 is consideration of approval of a letter from the Board of Commissioners to Senator Ron Wyden regarding protecting seniors' access to doctors. And this was added by Commissioner Starrett.
Chair, the letter is in your packet, and this is regarding CMS's confirming a 2.8% cut for physicians in 2025. We've already seen a cut in the last several years. This is making it very difficult for physicians to continue to provide Medicare. And we actually are hearing from seniors in the community saying that their providers are no longer taking those who are on Medicare. So I would urge that we sign this letter and send it off, because regarding House Bill 10073, it is a bill that would prevent these cuts and make physicians whole, because they really are struggling to keep these senior patients. So I'd move approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
None.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Motion passes, and thank you for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
J2 is consideration of approval of amendment number 1 to an agreement between Yamhill County and Project ABLE, Board Order 17-322, to provide peer support specialists at the Peer Assisted Crisis PAC House, increasing the annual amount from $137,700 to $164,516, and extending terms through August 14th of 2025.
Chair, I'd move approval.
Okay, any discussion, questions?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. J3, consideration of approval of amendment number 2 to the Local Mental Health Authority, Local Public Health Authority, and Coordinated Care Organization Agreement between Yamhill County and Yamhill Community Care Organizations, YCCO. Board Order 23-04, increasing the amount from $360,644.25 per year to $371,463.59 per year, and extending the agreement terms through December 31st of 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
None.
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. J4, consideration of approval of a master service agreement between Yamhill County Department of Community Justice and Lexipol for youth services staff, public safety training in the amount of, I think that's $3,496 per year, effective for 12 months upon full execution. I will move approval. This is just an opportunity to provide staff training in a little bit more of an efficient manner, given some challenges with staffing. And Lexipol is also what the sheriff is using for updating
Policies.
staff policies, internal policies. And I think so far he's been very pleased with their services. So I will move approval of J4. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. J5, consideration of approval and submission of the 2024 Habitat Conservation Plan Annual Compliance Report. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any thoughts, comments, statistics on the Fender blue butterfly?
Good pictures. Good pictures. We had a good
Pictures.
tour. We did see them, so they are out there. It is working. Nick is doing really good. He's our vegetation management manager with Public Works, and he works really good with the different groups that are involved with Defenders Blue. I mean, they've done everything from mowing at very specific times, vetch, so that the Kincaid lupin can grow through in certain areas along the roadsides, and they're very happy with Nick. So it's a good program. And it's a good tour if you ever get a chance to go on it. It comes up once a year. Really good bus driver. He's probably the best.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
I've been on the tours, but definitely not with you as a bus driver. I would
You should
appreciate
go
doing
now.
that.
You should go now.
Who was the person who was pretending to swat the butterflies?
Oh, that was a former Public Works director.
joke, it was
It
a
was a
joke.
joke.
It's a joke. Okay, we probably should just move on from this. Did you move approval? Yes. All those in, oh, Mary did. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes.
On that note.
All right, there is nothing for public hearings today, and that leaves us with our announcements. I know Kit has an exciting announcement.
Yes, I do. I have two, actually. Phase one's already complete, so if you go on, if you get a chance, go on social media, you'll see where we posted some pictures about it, but had the opportunity to make an ornament for the state of Oregon that represents Yamhill County. That was kind of the initial ask, kind of went next level on it, and we actually made a Yamhill County ornament. You can see a picture of it, but I'll kind of explain. It's basically a spiral with the colors of our Yamhill County logo. It will hang on the tree in Mahonia Hall, which I think is the governor's residence.
Yes.
The next level portion of that was we actually made a charm that represents each city in Yamhill County that will in my head, I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. And the governor's supposed to send us a picture of it hung on the tree, but in my head, it's our main ornament that's probably about 4 or 5 inches tall
Mhm.
with all the smaller charms hanging around it that represent each city.
Cool.
So it came out better than I thought it was gonna come out, and just a fantastic guy in Newburgh that's a glass artist,
Yeah.
Ben Smith, and he just did phenomenal.
Yeah, they were super neat.
That's phase one. Phase two is coming up. Not gonna make it a total spoiler, but keep an eye out on social media on Newburgh Glass Studio, our social media, and if people can share it around. But we're gearing up to do a marble hunt, Yamhill County wide. Typically, Ben does one for Newburgh. He branched out last week and did a Newburgh Lafayette marble hunt, and here coming up, I think he does them every Tuesday. So we're shooting for the 23rd, 24th.
I feel like is it in a confined area? Because those are really small. How do you, is
It's
it
not, it's
throughout the town?
no, so like on Tuesday, some are by like water meter dog houses that are like out in front of Fred Meyer, and he'll send like this really close picture, and some people will
Oh, so
recognize it,
there's
be like, oh yeah, I
clues.
go by there all the
Okay.
time. I know exactly where that's at, and they'll go grab the marble.
Okay.
If you can't, you then ask for a clue, and he basically sends a clue of it. So I think it's great. I think it's gonna be fun. We have 12 of them. We did an extra one for Grand Ron because Grand Ron's super involved with Yamhill County, and the monies that they put towards some of our projects that the tribes do is just phenomenal. And so we do have one extra for Grand Ron. But that
Are
will
there
be
prizes?
phase 2.
Are there prizes for winning them or finding them?
Yeah, the marble.
Oh, the marble.
Yeah. I have an example. Everybody's gonna be I think it's
Good job on the ornament. That was.
So the
amazing.
marbles are it's a glass marble with
It's
the
super neat.
same Yamhill County colors, yellow, blue, and green.
But you know what I mean? Like if you told me to go find this in Lafayette, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here all day.
So got it. I got it. It's in a black, I think most of them are in black satchel bags.
Oh, okay.
So, yep, like that. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got
Very
going
neat.
on.
Yeah, that was very
Love it.
well done. You definitely put Yamhill County on the map. You went way above and beyond the
I
assignment.
lucked out. It came down like to the last hour, and even I'm still like anticipating. So I got to meet the governor, and when I'm trying to set it all up, I don't think they understood quite what level I went to, and the level that I went to, I wanted to like hand deliver this to the governor, and it came together. Kudos to Beth Wojtowski for connecting us and making it happen. But it literally came down to actually minutes. I mean, so the glass artist, he's running late. The governor's just like, we get 5-minute window. We're sitting in the state library waiting for her to come out of her meeting. And she's just maybe about 5 minutes late, which not bad. Comes out, still waiting for the glass artist, who's probably 15 minutes late. And really, I mean, he's the main key to a lot of these, so he can discuss how he made them, because it's very interesting, the process that he goes through. And it all came together last minute. I'm explaining to her each charm that we came up with and why, and then here comes Ben in and gets to have a photo op with the governor also, and brings her own personal marble, and then this backdrop that we took a photo behind, she just really played the role of, I found this marble behind the backdrop, and it made all of our day. It was so cool.
Were there any other county ornaments?
There's 11 other counties so far that have participated, I think is what they told us.
Yeah.
Yep. Mailed them in.
Nothing on.
Nothing like your custom
No,
made.
no.
Yeah.
Personalized per city.
Well, I don't know if they've ever done this before, but Mahonia Hall, have you been to Mahonia Hall?
I haven't.
It needs a tree. It needs like some cheerfulness and
I wanted, I was
Permission.
so proud of this and just so thankful what Ben came through with that I didn't want to like give it away permanently. I felt like it was like now a fixture of Yamhill County and that it should,
We want this back.
yeah, can we have it back? And it would actually make a good opportunity to go every year and deliver the Yamhill County
right.
ornament. So
That's
I don't know. We'll have a conversation later about that.
About that ornament.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. Was that what was your second announcement?
That was phase 1 is
Okay.
done. That was meeting the governor and dropping the ornament, Yamhill County ornament. Phase 2 is Marble Hunt coming up.
Gotcha. Mine's not nearly as exciting. As you know, the OGEC training rules changed for elected officials in 2023, I think. So now we all have to take a 2.5-hour training course on public meeting laws, and you have to do it in your current term. So for you guys, you get 2 more years. I had to do it last week, which was super fun. Yeah, so anyway, that's just a heads up. That's a new rule. And it was actually pretty interesting when you have 4 years of perspective and you're on there with, new school board members or new city councilors. They ask a lot of good questions. So it's good to see and good to hear that people are wanting to stay accountable and transparent to the public. Any other announcements? How was Willamina?
Hmm.
Did we go to Willamina? The parade?
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Good.
Took the ambassadors.
Did it
Oh,
rain?
Man, see, you guys even haven't reminded me of my own updates. Yeah, it did not rain. It was raining that morning. Got out there, absolutely dry. It was great.
Nice.
And the ambassadors, I tell you what, this year's ambassadors are just next level dedicated.
Yeah, they are.
I mean,
They're great.
I'm gonna miss Sheridan's, and I think they're actually gonna go get their gator and they're gonna deck out their gator and go hit Sheridan, but they've hit Amity. They've done them all. If it's just a tree lighting ceremony, they're there. They are representing, and they are next. Kudos to the ambassadors from this year. Great job.
Yeah, their energy levels are just
Yep.
contagious. They're awesome.
And one of them's roped in her sister from 2 or 3 years ago, ambassadors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Chloe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Both Neiman sisters.
Cool.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. Okay. Any other?
Nothing.
Nothing for the good of the order? We may have a pretty lengthy meeting next week and sort of. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
I'll be zooming.
Can I assign those? Or do I assign those? The names? Like
No,
who
Megan
reads,
does.
who reads what?
Megan will. She's going to send a list of who reads what. I asked her.
Okay.
Okay.
As long as it's emailed, I can handle it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll come by email.
Alrighty. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, I will adjourn the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners formal session for December 12th, 2024. It is 11:50.